would like to announce the start of our panel on the role of small national publishers and journals. We have 6 esteemed panelists with us today. So the idea is for me to ask them some questions in 2 rounds of questions and to receive shorter answers, so we can have time later for discussion. So please, I invite all participants once again to type their questions to Q&A window, and please write to which panelist the question is intended for. So let me present you my panelists. Please, Professor Jonatan Vinkler, from University of Primorska, Faculty of Humanities in Slovenia. Hello.
No, actually, I'm not Jonatan. Jonatan asked me to participate here. My name is Andreja. I'm the managing editor of the University Press.
Oh, thank you.
Jonatan is unable to participate today.
Oh, so thank you. Yes, I was wondering why he didn't reply to my email. So I suppose he's really busy. So thank you for joining us. And just please tell me once again, your name is? I didn't hear
Alen Ježovnik.
Ježovnik. Thank you very much. And my next panelist is Professor Neven Duić from, he's the editor-in-chief of a Journal of Sustainable Development on Energy, Water and Environment Systems. I see that he is with us. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So then we have Professor Daria Pašalić. She is from the University of Zagreb School of Medicine, editor-in-chief of Biochemia Medica. Hello, Daria.
Hello, everybody.
We have Professor Andreja Brajša-Žganec from Institute of Social Sciences Ivo Pilar in Zagreb. She's the editor-in-chief of a journal Društvena istraživanja, which is a Croatian title for social research. Hello, Andreja. You have to unmute yourself, please, to say hi to everyone.
Hello to everybody.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. Then we have Jadranka. We don't have to introduce her, but for those of you who don't know, she is working at the University of Zadar and Ruđer Bošković Institute. She's here also in the role of the member of HRČAK advisory board. HRČAK is a portal of Croatian scientific journals, and she's alpha and omega of open access in Croatia, I must add. And we have, last but not least, Mr. Dalibor Jakus. He is public relations and communication specialist from Zagreb, Croatia. Hello, Dalibor.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, I was confused with Daniel, and you are my dear colleague. So thank you all for attending this panel. And I will start by following up on the lecture of Professor Ruđer about Plan S requirements. So as you can hear, or you may know, most of the journals in Croatia are in open access, and most of them are in diamond open access. And they are being published by faculties, universities, learned societies, and institutes. And we all received grants from our Ministry of Science and Education throughout the years. And the last couple of years, the ministry has changed its financing model towards more distributing the cost for publishing to publishers. But we don't have commercial publishers, we have non-commercial publishers. So taking all that into account, and especially Plan S requirements, my first question for Professor Duić is, what do you think the future of our scientific journals in Croatia will be? And could it be more sustainable to comply with Plan S requirements?
Thank you for a question. We'll see what the new government will decide about this policy. But in a way, sorry, my throat is a little bit, in a way, this change of policy is a good signal to journals that they have to reform a bit. because we were financing really wide scope of quality. And in a way, we need some kind of quality control in order to follow the scientific non-egalitarian approach. Science is elitistic by its way. It should be available to everybody, of course, but the best results are should be on the top. So we have to find the proper way. I think that some of the journals are now moving to gold access approach, which is, in my opinion, a good way of financing journals. We have to finance journals. And as long as this fee is proportional to the costs, I think this is acceptable way of financing open access. I have a little bit problem with the way 10th principle of S-Plan is put. It is okay that individual researchers should not be valued according to impact factor of the journals, but we need to have some measure how to value journals itself, and it's not completely clear from that 10th rule principle that we still allow journals to be indexed and compared on the impact factor. I think that is much more democratical than some small committees valuing journals.
Well, I can thank you very much for your answer. I can ask Professor Rurik to comment on that. So Professor Rurik, can you hear me? Yes.
To comment on what aspect specifically?
Well, perhaps you can propose some strategies. How should we, evolve or strategize our business models to be Plan S compliant and to avoid article processing charges? Do you think that Diamond Open Access could be something that could be financed by the European Union regardless of the country in which publisher is, if it is, of course, within the EU?
Well, I think it could be in principle, but that is really a decision that I have nothing to say over. I mean, if the Commission decides to do that, they could. I mean, I'm only noticing that, of course, they have founded this ORE platform, as you may know, right? That big platform that they invite researchers to publish in open access in. I mean, all I know there that is, I mean, I think that's an interesting development. Let me put it this way: it's of course now operated by F1000. It is, which was in itself again bought by Taylor and Francis. But in any case, the contract is fixed. They can host a lot of articles there, but my impression of that framework is that it is a bit of an empty building. Right? I mean, you can deposit things there. One of the ways forward there is, of course, would be to populate that platform with a number of diamond journals and have the cost be borne by ORE. That's an idea that I would very much favor. Whether they will do that, of course, is something else. It's a little bit difficult to see what.
Well, thank you, but it's a good suggestion to perhaps be more aware of the fact that it could be done. So thank you for that. Well, I would like to ask Mr. Dr. Ježelnik, do you think that national open access strategy has changed the publishing landscape in Slovenia? Are you more prepared for Plan S implementation, since Slovenia is one of the signatories of Plan S agreement?
Yes, it has changed because all journals which receive a subsidy has to be open access journals for several years already. So this is important, and I think also improves the quality of the journals because they are open, they can be judged directly, and they also receive money on the basis of the quality of the journals. But the problem is how to measure the quality because lists of the journals, indexation, number of citations, they are certainly important, but it's not the only way how you can measure the quality. That's actually the quantity, not the quality. If you calculate the number of citations, it's not directly connected to quality of a journal.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Yes, we are all contemplating about the possibility of have a nationally funded diamond open access journals, but there is, if we want to avoid traditional metrics, there is a problem how we can measure it. So, Professor Rurik, what do you think about traditional metrics? Is it a good way of measuring the quality of the journals, since we have to adopt something in our national strategy?
Yes, but there are also alternative metrics that are possible. I mean, these are being developed, of course, but still many other metrics are possible to evaluate the quality of a researcher. May give you one example. For instance, one of the ways that some of the funders are now evaluating applicants is as a function of what is called the Harvard system. Namely, you ask researchers to not send in their full list of publications, but you ask them to select the 5 best ones. And also to tell you, to give a narrative, so this is called a narrative CV, to give you a narrative of why they think that those are the best articles. And then the answer is not because it is cited by the most important person in my field, but you have to focus on the contribution and why that is a contribution and how that contribution was received. So that's a very different way of thinking about the rewards and incentive system, which is possible. But yes, we are fully, behind DORA and other initiatives like the Hong Kong Principles and the Leiden Manifesto that think that metrics, the purely quantitative metrics, should no longer be used as in the evaluation of research.
Yes, I agree completely with you. Thank you for that. Regarding the quality of research, my next question is for Daria Pašalić. So do you think that the quality of submissions would increase if we have completely open and transparent and visible evaluation process, such as open peer review, open data policy, since we in Croatia are not that keen into open peer review, we are more or less inclining to a traditional double-blind or single-blind peer review system. What is your thought on that?
Okay, at first, in general, I do agree that open data policy could increase the quality of publication. And you know that we are an open access, free of charge journal that is free of charge for authors and for the readers from the beginning of this journal. But also I can notify several problems that could arise from the full open data, if you mean on raw data, open raw data, especially for biomedical journals and other research that include sensitive data on humans. At first, we have to take to account the specific regulation prescribed, but not just by government, but also from some foundation and institution, which maybe can prescribe the inability to represent some specific kind of the data in the public. For example, you know what happens with pharmaceutical research now this is something that is very up to date. And also I know, on the other hand, that mostly Croatian biomedical journals at this moment do not require this form of the open data sharing. But I also do know that biomedical journals usually follow ICMGE criteria, that is the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. And it would be expected to implement one of the recent regulations related especially to the clinical trials, to share clinical data. I think that this is actual in this pandemic situation. So this recent regulation, I think, should have to be considered for implementation, but for sure with some limitation according to the type of data and specific regulation. When we are talking about open peer review, I'm a little bit skeptic about this, because I think that this can lead to the conflict of interest, then losing of the high quality peer reviewers. I know for how long we build up our database of the peer reviewers, of the high quality peer reviewers, and I'm afraid of some kind of the revenges between authors and reviewers, and a little bit lack of confidence between all the participants in this peer reviewing and editorial process.
Well, it's hard to say. I read some several articles on that, and they are actually all pointing to the fact that most of the researchers are not, should I say, afraid to sign their their reviews, and most of the authors are also keen to share the reviews of their papers with them. So. I think perhaps in Croatia we have to learn this process and to implement it carefully. Jadranka, what is your thought on that? I know that you.
Yes, my thought on that is that first we need to learn what is academic discussion in our work, in our academic environment, and to be free to say what we think, even if we don't agree with colleagues. And so when we will reach this point, then we will be maybe ready to accept also other nice things as open peer review, and not to be afraid to sign on your on something what you think it's result of your work and your opinions and your critics. So
Yes, I agree. So
I can maybe add something to that. I mean,
yes,
I share Daria's concerns. I've tried to bring this up in the linguistic community as well, and people are just not ready for open peer review, is my experience. I mean, I don't like it, but I don't have to like it, you know. I mean, I don't like it when it rains either, right? It's just, people are just not ready for it. And I think what we should think about much more is a gradual approach to open peer review, which is that you should allow reviewers to share their review and allow reviewers to decide whether they want to sign it or not. So this is a more gradual approach. So for instance, a reviewer would say, yes, you can publish my review, but not my name, right? Or you can publish my name, but not my review. And then you can also ask the author, do you want that record to be open? So I think it requires tie-in from the various participants. It's really something that small community of author and reviewers should decide themselves, really, without just saying, well, it all has to be open. And so then gradually that allows you to build confidence, I believe, that this is a good system, that that this is worthwhile. And because it also has positive effects. There's the positive effect, for instance, that if you know that your review is going to be published, you're going to be a lot nicer and perhaps a lot more polite than you would be otherwise. So, you know, this is something that we slowly have to adapt to, not just in one fell swoop.
Yes, I agree. It's a good proposal. Yes, I can hear you, Jadranka.
Yes, if I may add, I completely agree with Johan, and really in some future, so we need to actually enable reviews to be open, not identity of the reviewer. So even if the future, when we will hopefully have all reviews in open access and on disposal, I will still vote for the right of the reviewer to stay anonymous for whatever reason. And I really think that this somehow forcing a reviewer to sign on his review, it's somehow compromising, I don't know if this is the right word in English, actually open peer review initiatives. So it's, I would always leave right to peer reviewer to stay anonymous.
Yes, of course, yeah, we have to have that option in future for all of the reviews. So I was thinking about open sources and open journal system, which some of the journals in Croatia use. Some of them have their own platforms. And I wanted to ask Andreja, what are your experiences? Because I know that your journal Društvena istraživanja uses open journal system. And do you think that it could be better to have a national publishing platform which will allow you to, you know, as an editor, to more emphasize your work on the editorial process and improving the quality and content of the articles? What are your experiences with? So please, Andreja, unmute yourself. Sorry, we cannot hear you.
Yes. You hear me? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for a question. Yes, we have some experience about OJS, Open Journal System, and we support national publishing platform. I can explain now. The journal Društvena istraživanja publish works in social and humanities science and open access, and full content of the journal immediately permanently is there and is on the is open access, can download. And from 2011 we took OJS as the system to support the online submission of the manuscript. Manuscript should be submitted online electronically only via this system. But I knew in this area. I'm as editor took my position 1 year ago, and in this period I fell with many problems with OJS. And as editor, I try, you know, we heard today about the financial support from our and other journal in Croatia, from the journal supported from Ministry of Science Education, and also one part from our Institute Social Science. But therefore, when we take the small financial resources that the journal has, OJS is more acceptable to us. But the problem is that we would like to change the OJS, but we don't know in which direction. And your question and your idea about national publishing platform is for us a very good idea. And the reason for those, maybe we can solve some problem, but also in relation to the whole process, editing process. Now we have executive editor and assistant editor. the much time put to the cooperation to solve all this problem with open access OJS in open access. And we think that when that change, when we will have in future this national platform, publishing platform, maybe this assistant and a young editor can pay more attention to the editing process. And at the moment, I would like only to thank you to the Croatian Association for Scientific Communication, that I really think that help me as new editor in this area to solve some problem, to help, to share information regularly. Thank you.
So thank you for that. I hope that I can ask Professor Mrša to add to that. I see that he is online. If he can, perhaps he cannot hear me. So our plans are to help to educate, especially younger editors, in the extent that which we can, and also to provide some links to the institutions which can help us in that. So when we are thinking about the national platform, I always think first of HRČAK, our portal of Croatian scientific journals. So my question for Jadranka is, do you think that the HRČAK can become such national publishing platform? Or do you think that perhaps editors will feel like their journals could lose their identities, or perhaps that the journals can even become redundant?
Thank you. This is really a very interesting question. So when we created, together with our colleagues at the University Computing Department, HRČAK in 2006, we primarily have in mind that we would like to provide publishing platform for Croatian journals. And so we will overcome all the problems with technology, with expensive software, with expensive infrastructure, and also a lack of technical knowledge, which we recorded inside the editors community. But in 2006, the solution when journal will upload the articles to HRČAK and then will appear online looks like a good solution. But after 15 years, we are still in the same stage of the somehow development. And I really hope that there will be some significant development in the future, and because now we are actually not saving editors' work, because editors are duplicating the work. They are working using their own publishing platforms, and then they should upload the article to HRČAK platform and fill all these metadata. So it's actually some duplicated work. Of course, HRČAK contributes significantly to the visibility of Croatian journals, and that's really important. But I hope that in the future, HRČAK will become a real national publishing platform, not offering OJS on for the usage, which I appreciate, but I think it's not enough, but integrate some appropriate solution to support editorial processes, and not only for journals. I would like also to see such kind of advanced platform for conference proceedings. And so HRČAK, in my mind, HRČAK in the future is implementing its publishing platform, it's implementing cutting-edge technologies and all necessary features and all bells and whistles you can imagine. So yes, I would like to see this.
So thank you. I would like to ask Professor Rurik, do you think as a journal editor that perhaps if we have such a national platform, would the journals become redundant? What are your thoughts?
Would journals become redundant?
Yes,
No.
because you can have all the articles at the same places. So perhaps authors would like to just share.
I think certainly a different organization is possible, and it would probably be a good thing. To share, for instance, a single submission system is perfectly possible. Right? I mean, it doesn't have to be OJS. Actually, there's no good submission system out there. They all suck. I mean, it's really, it's a pity, but it's the way it is. I mean, OJS is not bad. And what we see is that about half of this comes out of the survey that was made by Operas. About half of the diamond journals use OJS. So instead of whining about OJS, we should probably try to contribute to make it better. But OJS certainly can carry many journals at a time. So you could sort of have a central submission system, and then hang under their specific journals. I mean, that would certainly help also with the cost, because you would have, a central office that contributes to maintaining the system. And then you would still have individual journals that hang under there and that are run by the individual editors in the way that they see fit. I think that is perfectly possible. Should it evolve that way? I can't say, of course. It really depends on the situation. But I do think that would mean a simplification, and probably also a financial simplification, yes, in the sense that service then is offered, and you can make use of it as a journal editor. We use, I mean, for my journal, we use a modified version of OJS, modified by Ubiquity Press. But this is, for instance, how Ubiquity Press functions. They use this modified version of OJS, and they have dozens of journals that hang under it.
Yes, well, if I can add, not all online submission systems suck, because we have good experiences with the COMET online system, which was developed by our dear colleagues, led by Professor Duić. You can
good. Maybe I should look into that.
You can add something about it, Neven.
Yeah. Yeah, the trouble is really with the submission system is really once you start hitting a large volume of articles, then it becomes difficult to keep an overview. Yeah, OJS is very good for smaller journals, but once you have hundreds of submissions a year, it becomes very difficult to do that in OJS.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would thank you very much. I would like to.
We cannot hear you.
Apologize for that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Professor Rurik. I would like.
Eva, your question was actually really important, but I don't know the answer exactly. And you can see actually different examples in the publishing environment. You can see +1 and such kind of journals, which are not real journals. They are publishing enormous amount of articles each day. But you have on other side, for example, Elsevier with a common platform for more than 2,000 journals. And I don't think that Elsevier journals are having problem with their identity. And so I don't know the answer, but your question is very interesting.
So thank you for that. I wanted to ask Neven to add something about how they develop their COMET system, because it's interesting to hear.
Well, we developed it for the purpose of organizing a conference, but then because we were approached with from several journals, we also developed it for journals, and now I think around 15 different journals from 3 countries are using it. The whole point is that editorial management system needs to be specialized for each journal, because each journal has some particular needs. If one can program, one can do it in OJS, but most of editors are not really very good in programming. So whichever system you use, there has to be professional support for adapting a platform for individual journal needs. And that costs, and somebody has to pay that costs. It can be a funder, or it can be paid from APC, but I think that unprofessional systems, open journal system, will not work without professional support.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. So we heard from Andreja that that is the main problem with that. I would like to take a moment just to ask participants to, I see that you're writing some questions in Q&A section, which Daniel is following. Just please, if you have a question for a certain panelist, type the name of the panelist and then the question. So I would like to ask Dalibor, regarding channels of scientific communication today, do you think that the traditional channels such as publishing in journal articles, case studies, systematic reviews is preferred more, or do you think that this era of social networking is taking its toll?
Well, for someone who is, first, thankful, and thanks, Eva, for the question. For someone who is standing on the bridge between the public audience and the scientists and scientific organization from other side, because I'm collaborate with the scientists and scientific organization, there is no unique answer onto that. Depends if we are talking about scientific communication and the communication among academic environment, or we're talking about communication which is aimed to the wider public. If you're talking about scientific communication in that context, I will follow Jadranka wishes that, for example, in Croatia, HRČAK could easily become a national publishing platforms, which will fulfill all needs that scientific communication and the scientific organization needs. If we're talking about the communication that is aimed to the public, that we have to, or at least I think that we need to remove from these traditional ways of publishing and put that in, of course, on the open platforms, and allow the public to recognize all what is matter for their lives. But only if I can add something else.
Yes,
I wouldn't say that the platform is the key elements of all these process. I think that the elements is required some other things which I want to say. It's all about three aspects of communication and publishing. That would be ethics, rules, authenticity, and of course transparency. So if we're talking about scientific communication, it has to follow those rules as well as the platforms.
So thank you, Dalibor, for your thoughts. I'd like to ask Alan, you have established digital library, perhaps you can mute yourself. sorry about that, some technical difficulties since Dalibor and I are in the same room, so I'm hearing an echo. For Alan, I wanted to ask you, because you have established a digital library at your faculty as a platform for online publication on scientific monographs. What are your experiences with it, and do you plan to include journals in future?
Yes, we have most of our books are open access and they are freely available online. And also our journals are already online because all of our journals are open access journals. So they are readily available. We have very good experience with books online because our books are mostly published in Slovene. And the market for Slovene books is very, very limited. And it's very difficult to sell printed books. And if you publish books online, you can reach much larger number of readers than with traditional publishing model. So it's very, very good experience.
So thank you for that. My next question is for Professor Duić. Sorry, Professor Rurik, you wanted to
No,
ask.
I mean, I just wanted to say that that is an experience that is widely shared across Europe, also with smaller publishers in Belgium, for instance, or in the Netherlands. I mean, publishers are surprised, even astonished at how far and wide they are being read. And actually what you often see is that the online book serves as a way to advertise the print books of that same publisher. So, you know, smaller publishers have really discovered that as a means of advertising the rest of their portfolio. So yes, I recognize what is being said here, and I think it's very important for smaller publishers to move in that direction.
So thank you very much. I wanted to ask Professor Duić, what are your thoughts about, since you have an online journal, should digital versions, to say, of the journal be something quite different from the printed journal? Well, it should be, of course, but do you think that they should evolve more, especially when you are thinking about creation journals? Since online versions of creation journals are usually just like replicas of printed versions, but online. What do you think about that, Neven? Do you think that we have to stick to the volumes, issues, and like PDF layouts, to say, in digital world?
I strongly agree with the need to change. And I see great potential as long as it helps understanding scientific contribution. I would really like to see films being used because they could really improve the understanding of the message. But the problem is that the publishing process is so conservative. We decided 2 years ago to remove page numbers and move to paper numbers. And then because, well, we are not really publishers, we are just scientists, we were asking everybody in Croatian publishing community, what are the problems of moving to paper numbers? And we didn't really get much response. The only response is nobody did it yet. So we decided to go from January next year to paper numbers. If we survive that change, I hope to move also to remove the issues and volumes and try to go to continuous publishing. But I'm not really sure how, what will be the response of indexing houses. And then we should move away from PDF and to some format that supports movies, because movies are an important part of passing the message. And all kinds of other material, Excel sheets, programs, whatever can be integrated into a paper which should not be a paper anymore. It should be a piece of contribution.
Yes, yes, I agree with you, and I think that it's a long way for us to adjust to that. Thank you very much. I wanted to ask Andreja. I have noticed that you have recently invited authors to contribute with their submissions to the thematic issue on psychosocial aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And what are your experiences? Was the quality of submissions as good as for, should I say, regular issues? Or do you think that now we are swamped with COVID papers and the authors are more pressed to publish soon? So what do you think, Andreja? What are your experiences with it? Just please unmute yourself, Andreja. Andreja, please unmute yourself. Sorry, if you can hear. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Yes. There is no, yes, I agree. There are not a lot of high quality paper, but we have enough paper till now about these psychosocial aspects of COVID-19. I think that we don't in this process. We should not the problem about the editing, but maybe with reviewers in the small time, because we would like to publish this thematic issue at the beginning of next year. But I would like to say that now in the article about the COVID-19 pandemic is good scientific papers in this area, those that have analyzed on the comparison of the data sample before and during the pandemic, or different population, or cross-national study in different countries. And at the time we have some article now, they are now in the under review process. And that is the article about mental health and pandemic, also many articles about the school time well-being now during the online teaching. But also we have some articles about comparison the US and South Korea about the social media, use social media now in pandemic time. So I can say that in my opinion, for now, I cannot talk about tension and problems with the manage the balance between speed and quality control. Now, I don't know what will I say next year, but the quality take time, but with the support of guest editor and also executive editor and assistant editor, I hope we will use it. We do it.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem is with reviewers.
Yes, I know there are swamped with work. We usually have to say to send at least 7 to 10 invitations to receive 2 reviews. So
yes.
It's a big problem today, and I don't think it will decrease in future because we are experiencing many contributions to many different topics, especially now in COVID pandemia. I want to ask, thank you, Andreja. I want to ask Jadranka.
I can't hear you, Eva.
Apologies for that. Jadranka, I wanted to ask you about possible strategies to reduce waste in research and publishing, because we are experiencing overflow of submissions. Do you think that it can be reduced, or what are the key aspects of reducing ways to say as we can and as an editors do?
You have in mind the waste of the editorial work?
Yes.
So yes, maybe we can, I don't know, I think that reducing the number of the journals would be a good solution. So I don't have primarily in mind that you cancel some journals, but what I have in mind is that you that it's collaborative work, that we, for example, universities or ministry with the funding supports merging journals and to make stronger journals with better and more numerous editorial boards, and I think that this will be a really good strategy. Personally, I don't think that journal which publish 5 articles per year, I don't know, maybe we have different opinions, but also maybe the funding system in Croatia was designed so, and it was a kind of motivation for journals just to establish journals to publish 2 articles per year and then to get some financial support. But we should have really stronger journals with more volume, even in the disciplines, in the social sciences and humanities, where it's somehow, and also merging the journals could also strengthen the peer review process, and so making some shared databases of peer reviewers and exchange such kind of data, and could be really beneficial for publishing community.
Thank you, Jadranka. I would like to ask Professor Rurik, what is your position, the possible strategies of reducing waste? Should we merge to larger journals?
Eva,
sorry?
but before Johan starts, I just forgot my main point. I didn't have it earlier, but it came to my mind. So I think that the biggest waste for Croatian journals, it's this. It's actually not only printing journals. Okay, printing journal is costly, and nobody reads printed version of the journals anymore. But what is also costly is preparing the journals to look as a printed version. So this I think it's the biggest waste and cannot compare with anything else. And it's not only in Croatia, it's globally.
Thank you, Jadranka. Just to listen to Johan quickly, they are telling me that we are.
I think Jadranka is right. I mean, it's preparing an article for publication, even if it's just online, it requires a lot of work. I do think in principle that it is good to join these efforts. I mean, I'm a very big fan of having shared resources in a single place, where you have a journal manager or journal managers plural, who can handle various journals. I see how this works at Ubiquity Press. It works quite well. You always have a person that you can talk to with your question about OJS or with your question about a manuscript. Things are professionally organized in a way that you cannot do if you just work in your own university. You don't have to use Ubiquity Press because they might be a bit more expensive, but you could also think of other players, for instance, that are on the market. One of the players, for instance, that I think very highly of in terms of quality is Medica in Mexico. They deliver excellent service for almost no money. So this is really something you can think of when you don't have a lot of resources at your disposal. I see Ariana is speaking this afternoon. Maybe it's something you can take up with her. But I mean, there's various. But I do think that we should stop thinking about, oh, I have my little journal in my corner and I print it on paper. I mean, paper is so 19th century. I mean, forget about paper. Like Jadranka says, paper is give it up.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. We should move to our last two questions to leave some time for a Q&A section. I wanted to ask Daria, since we were talking about the increasing number of submissions, and I know that you have introduced Research Integrity Corner several years ago. Do you think that the researchers today, especially in small communities like Croatia, need to be educated more on what constitutes ethical misconduct?
Okay, at first, our journal is an international journal, not just Croatian journal, and we have approximately 70% of the foreign authors. And yes, we still notice time by time that some ethical misconducts, but not just from the authors from the smaller countries and the countries with the low budget. I think that, for example, Croatian authors in biomedicine, this is the area which we publish, are mostly really highly educated in the most of the ethical biomedical issues. But time by time, we still submit manuscripts with technical or patchwork plagiarism or salami publication. But mostly in this occasion, we direct authors how to overcome those problems, if possible. So that means that we not just educate authors with this Research Integrity Corner, but also on the individual level, and direct them to those specific research integrity publication to overcome those ethical issue problems in their manuscripts. So that means just in the occasion when there is a space for change those ethical issues. But also any new international recommendation from organizations like COPE or ICMGE, we try to represent in the simplest way on the specific examples in our research integrity published papers.
So thank you, Daria. We will have to move to my last question to leave some few minutes for some questions which will Daniel choose. And my last question is for Dalibor. Do you think that the trust in science is reducing today when we are swamped with different information and perhaps citizens, not only researchers, are confused about to which sources to believe? What can you say about that from your point of view?
Thanks, Eva. Yeah, I think that it's a bit confusing situation, especially for the wider audience, just because we are aware that we are living in a world of fake news, and by last researcher, we could say that, for example, 6 out of 10 news which are published on a social media are fake. So if you want to research some results or find something which is important for your work, or if a journalist, for example, want to share a news with their audience, in that case, it's quite difficult to find. You have to dig and make a stronger contact directly to your organization, the scientists, to discover if these results are authentic or are they 100% transparent and true. For consumers, maybe it's also quite important, or maybe could be more interesting if their scientific results and research could be presented in quite a different way. Journalism is, of course, the most common way, but I know for the projects, for example, in the European Union, such as the comics, which present, of course, children and the students different understanding of a science and science language.
So thank you, Dalibor, and thank you all for answering my questions. I would like to ask Daniel, because we have several minutes left, to perhaps choose 3 questions and ask the participants 3 or 4.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 questions. One is for Jadranka. Do you plan to add possibilities of open post-peer review to HRČAK? I think it's possible, maybe.
It's a very, very precise question and very good question. But as far as I know, as a member of the HRČAK advisory board, we don't plan to offer post-peer review system. It would be really good, but yeah, for the moment, not. There are some, yeah.
Thank you. And for Professor Duić, what is percent in published articles of this with waivers or discounts to APC?
In which journal? In JSDEWES?
Probably doesn't say.
I think we are waiving around 80% of charges at the moment, because papers which are connected to the conference have in a way paid already through the conference fee. And also we are using Research for Life scheme from WHO. So we are waiving APC for poor countries.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And one more question for you. What do you think about the future of conference papers? Are they adding to the quality of the journal, or just good for, I don't know, filling the gaps and inflating the numbers?
I think that we should keep the differentiation between journal papers or a long-term archived papers on one side and conference papers on the other side. Conference papers should be work in progress, should be used as discussion material when people meet at the conference, and should not be a final publishing venue. So in that way, people have a possibility to improve their material once they discussed it at the conference, and they don't have to start from scratch, because the good paper is not just another paper, it's a paper you worked on for a long time. So just wasting all the material on a conference paper forever and then have to write another journal paper, it's reducing quality and increasing the noise. So let's keep the conferences and journals separate. We need conferences because we need to network closely, we need to discuss, we need to attack, we need to defend in person. But once paper is published in a journal, that topic is kind of published, and then discussion is moved to another venue, to a journal.
Yes.
May I ask Neven to clarify something
Jadranka,
related to this question?
Sorry, Jadranka, we don't have more time. Sorry to cut you out, but we have to move with our schedule. But I ask you all to please join our Facebook account, Twitter account. You can ask your questions there. You can exchange your opinions. Thank you very much to all of my panelists, and for Professor Rurik to participate in such I think it was really interesting conversation and discussion. And I'm really looking forward to perhaps see you all next year in Zadar. I hope that this pandemic will be over and that we will all share our thoughts there.
If I'm properly vaccinated, I will be there.
Properly vaccinated, yes, with Russian vaccine perhaps. So thank you very much. The next session is at 12:30 Central European Summer Time from Split. So thank you all. Goodbye, and here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.